don't know where it is. Up in the sky because I'm just running.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got into this situation. Well, we're gonna have to go back a couple months. Welcome to Thorium, the mod where absolutely everything is one massive middle finger coming straight for you. Except if you play healer, in which case everything's trying to give you a big kiss. First, some background. Terraria is a survival game set on the 2D plane. Now, before you say anything, no, it is not 2D Minecraft. If you say any more, I'm gonna... Well, there's not much I can do, but I'm gonna be pretty upset, okay? Anyway, where Minecraft is a game where you can just turn off your brain and still win, Terraria has one really big thing going for it. Tangible progression. At every point in the game, there is always something to do, unlike in Minecraft where you get like 3 armor choices. Yeah, it's safe to say I enjoy Terraria's gameplay, but eventually the game can get boring. This is where mods come in. An age-old way to completely destroy a game. But unlike Minecraft, most popular mods are coherent packs that add a whole lot of content for free! Now, don't get me wrong, you can probably smush a whole bunch of mods together and destroy the game anyway, but you get my point. Now, there are 2 main mod packs that everyone rants and raves about. You've got Calamity, which is a clusterfuck in its own right, and Thorium, its younger, slightly dimmer cousin. To start, you have to first make your character, and I like to pride myself on how good they look, and once I was done, I like to think I continue that trend. But this time, I'm not alone on my journey. In what could be the worst decision in my career, I'm playing with 1, 2, 3, 4 other people. Introducing...
A noob. Total noob.
After you make your character, you next have to make your world, which can have some spicy additions. In base Terraria, you've got 3 modes: normal, expert, and master. All of these modes have increasing difficulty and increasing loot quality.
But, what about journey mode? That makes 4 modes!
It's nice to do that again. Shut the fuck up, that is basically creative! Anyway, as I was saying, us having a collective IQ just above room temperature, we chose expert.
That means you're an unskilled normie. Get good and play a master mode, noob.
Yes, I know that it's still technically harder, but the enemies will still resize your holes, even on expert. But first, we also had to decide what class we were going to be. In base Terraria, there are 4 main classes: melee, ranged, magic, and summons. As if this wasn't enough, Thorium added 3 new ones: throwing, bard, and healing. And me being the brainlet I am, I thought that melee was going to be similar to Calamity, where it's like... I am the storm that is approaching! But in reality, it's more like... Now, the gang ended up like this: 2 magic men, a bard, a healer, and a melee. Finally, we all loaded in, and did all the basic things you do in a Terraria playthrough. Chop down some trees, clear out the spawn area for housing, and begin exploring. At first, all you'll find are some basic tools to aid in survival, so at the start of the playthrough, all you're doing is yoinking everything and anything in sight. And of course, the mandatory die 84 times to the corruption.
Oh,
Eventually, we got bored of that and actually started doing something productive. Building houses, spelunking, dying. A lot. Which brings me on to the first Thorium W. You can now collect life quartz and craft them into life crystals, among other things. And when there's this many idiots, that is a godsend. In the early game, there isn't a whole lot to do. It's mostly just collecting ores, getting crafting tables, and slowly upgrading your gear. A pretty big part of this are accessories. These little buggers drastically improve the overall experience at this point in the game. Like giving you a slightly taller jump, or double jump even. But trust me, it gets cooler later, but for now, this is all we get. Eventually, we got a blood moon.
Oh, here we go.
Which is usually nothing more than a nuisance in the base game. But in Thorium, this is a massive boon for anyone playing healer. From just this, Titan was able to make 2 weapons and a full suit of armor. So congrats on the devs for making Blood Moon useful pre-hard mode. The Blood Moon also allowed us to craft some stuff using blood, which has something for everyone at this point in the game. Except me. But to feel useful, I went and grabbed what we needed to craft a sky mill. In the process, I managed to snag some wings, a sky mill, and the best weapon I have access to. The Star Fury. Now, instead of swinging my massive ball around, I can call forth the power of the heavens and send a pretty pink star to bonk things on the head. I was also able to craft a sheath. A little bit more context. In the base game, pretty much all melee accessories are geared towards tank, but in this mod they decided to split the class into 3. You can either spec into spears, swords, or flails. I chose swords because there are so damn many, and a free 1200% crit is disgusting. Anyway, on the way I decided to visit the underground ocean biome, said hi to the locals under the desert, and decided it would be a good idea to try and farm this item called the Ancient Shadow Chestplate. For those that don't know, the Ancient sets are just versions of another armor set that is dropped by enemies rather than needing to craft it. And by this point, the statistical anomaly known as William had already gotten me the pants and the helmet, and getting the armor set before needing to fight a boss would be a massive advantage. Besides, I already got most of the armor sets, so getting the chestplate shouldn't be too hard. Right? Ah well, I didn't get it after almost 30 minutes of grinding, but I managed to make an arena for the Eater of Worlds, so that's something? After some more grinding and more denial, we decided that enough was enough and to fight our first boss, the Grand Thunderbird. After a hard-fought battle of spamming mouse 1, we killed it, but we were so overpowered that the gear we got from it was borderline useless, except the bard weapon. That was funny.
Damn, my name is Skylar White, yo. My husband is Walter White, yo. Uh-huh.
After that, we thought, oh well, we might as well fight another useless boss, cause
you're broke!
So, King Slime was next on the hit list. And of course, me being me, I was the only one who didn't get the only useful item it drops. So it was back to the caves for some more materials, mostly trying to find hard crystals and magic mirrors. I didn't find any, but it was still worth the effort. We also had a bunch of NPCs move in, like the Cobbler, or better known as the guy who would
Cobble your ball!
the confused zombie, and the cook. But after like an hour of doing fuck all, we got bored and fought the eye anyway. We demolished it with relative ease. The eye opens up a lot of opportunities for us, as we can now use Demonite and gives us the Shield of Cthulhu, a crazy good accessory. Next on the agenda was to make an arena for Queen Jellyfish, our next target. So I thought that while I was there, I could get the pylon network up and running by making an ocean house. After that was done, Titan built the arena, quote unquote, and we were ready to fight the queen of the
invertebrate jellies.
But we had to wait for days, so I just started fishing to pass the time.
What the? Oh, it's a pet? It's a summon.
Okay, that is not bang or wallable.
Oh my god, what that fish mouth do though?
What?
Then we actually fought the bitch, and unlike the other bosses, we actually had to think a little bit to beat her. Mostly because she can
Shock me!
and do a shit ton of damage with this whirlpool move. But of course I killed her. With a 1200 damage crit, by the way. Out of all this, we got a bard weapon and the melee, which did 52 damage.
Jeez!
Guess what we did after that? More spelunking! Most of us aren't even half HP, so we kinda gotta start taking this a little bit more seriously. Next on the list was the Worm, a boss that should be piss easy. So we made the arena proper by adding some platforms, and it was time to kill this thing. Or a better way to put it is to say that it killed us, and we only won due to William's Tetris skills.
Survival. Oh, let's go.
The worm gives us a shit ton of shadow scales, so now we get access to a whole bunch more recipes, including the shadow breastplate. Finally finishing off my armor set. Killing the worm also sent a meteor down, but before we could go searching for it, we had to deal with the goblin army, who now drop yew-wood, which again gives everyone else something. You know what, I'm starting to think this mod doesn't like melee very much. Ah well, once we found the meteor, which of course was in the corruption, we needed to grab some obsidian for the obsidian skull, since meteorite burns you when you stand on it. So we thought it would be a good time to start the elevator. We also rescued the Goblin Tinkerer, allowing us to combine accessories and reforge our gear for a reasonable price. Fucking thief.
You are not getting money back.
Finally, we made it to hell and grabbed what we needed for the meteor mining expedition. But the next time I got on, my shitty friends had already used every last bit of it, so no lightsaber for me. So I guess it was time for our next boss, the Viscount. Oh, what a sophisticated name. I bet it's some Dracula-looking guy. Nope, just a fat-ass bat, who was surprisingly enjoyable to fight. It also has this phase that turns you into a helpless bat and you're forced to dodge, which is cool. But it spams it, so the fight takes like 80 years longer than it should. But it gave us the ability to turn into a bat, so that's cool. After again getting robbed by the goblin and grabbing a new weapon, it was time to start properly exploring the jungle and track down some beehives. We actually got really lucky with our world generation, as we had a massive open space just below one of our hives that we could turn into an arena for any jungle boss we needed to fight. So we placed some platforms and we were ready to kill another monarch. Unfortunately, our host has the internet of a poor child in Mumbai, and we all got disconnected. And almost lost the fight. But we all managed to connect in time to kill a mother and all of her children. It was then off to do some more exploring, and I snagged an upgrade for my boots, and a new accessory. Now, at this point, you may want to point out how I'm still rocking most of the same base gear, while my teammates are all using modded stuff. Well, it seems that this mod's swords are mostly focused on speed rather than pure damage, with almost all of the early game swords having pitiful damage. And me being the caveman I am, I only want to see large damage numbers, which pretty much only comes from base game swords. Speaking of the base game, we still needed to get our HP up before the next big boss, so it was back to the caves to find some more life crystals. It was then off to beat up an old man who thought that,
Boy, you can't do this on concrete.
and he was right. So we made an arena first and had to wait till nighttime to beat this spooky, scary skeleton. This was probably the first fight that I had a degree of trouble with, but we Wicker Man this idiot and killed the old man. This allowed us to move into the dungeon, a pretty scary place that gives us a bunch of new upgrades, with there being 2 melee weapons and an accessory, but they're all base game, so L-mod. But before we got anything, we had to go kill the buried champion. Who's that, you're probably asking? Well, remember that text after Skeletron? Well, apparently it causes these pimple things to show up on the ground, and when you destroy them, this guy pops out. We were not ready for this boss in the slightest, but this dumb bitch accidentally destroyed it, so we all had to jump the fool.
Oh no, I already got one. That's what I was after.
The buried
They
champion? Who
Oh,
broke
yeah.
No, you materialize.
Materializer? Oh my, it just did. Oh, 75 damage! Ugh! 'Cause 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 'C
got him in the end, but at this point I was so underpowered I was doing like 6 damage per swing. We also ran out of the wormhole potions in the process, so I had to waddle my fat ass back to the arena. Killing the champion gave us hard mode tier wings, and the healer class a way to revive us. But after this, it was back to the dungeon to find my shit.
Yeah, boy.
The Muramasa and shield are massive boosts. One, the Muramasa is crazy good right now, and 2, they both lead to really strong items later on. Speaking of really strong items, it was off to hell to loot some shadow chests, mine some obsidian, and try my best to get some hellstone. After the hellscapade, I managed to snag some hellstone gear and the Exodia of 3 hard mode swords, the Knight's Edge. Also crazy good for me right now. We then decided to take another detour and kill another boss, so you know how it goes. After this, my mages thought it would be a good idea for them to grab a cobalt shield, but you want to hear something funny? We have no more chests left! So the only thing left to do was to try our luck and try to fish some dungeon crates. We didn't get it. To preserve my sanity, I decided to go do another soul-draining activity, and try, again, to get max HP, so I was off to the jungle. And guess what? I actually got it! Woo!
But, what about the others?
You know what? Good question. You know what? I've been so mean to you, but I think it's time to say that I'm sorry. But not giving a fuck! They could suffer for all I care. You remember what William does to cats? Anyway, no one was on, so I couldn't really make any progress. So I thought it was a good idea to farm for some boot upgrades, but I couldn't because...
Someone took it.
It being the ice skates I put in like 60 hours ago. The ice skates being used for the frostbark boots, which I wanted. So instead, I cried as I made a hell bridge for the wall of flesh and fished for a while. And I actually managed to get a Sun Fury and fully upgrade my boots. But things kinda got heated because we got so bored.
Where's all this fucking obsidian? I'm gonna murder someone.
So if you get water and add lava,
Really? Wow, William, I really needed that commentary. Wow, you're so witty and intelligent. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Thank you, bro. I really didn't know that. I appreciate it. I really appreciate that. That's ironic coming from me, Speedy.
Huh?
You want to keep talking? Oink oink. Come on. I haven't heard that. You were like, didn't I do it for you?
Finally, everyone got on, so it was time to greet some extraterrestrials the American way. With violence. But unfortunately, them boys had hands, so I got my ass creamed on. They fucking killed me, Ola, okay? And I killed it back, so it doesn't matter. Next on the list was Wall of Flesh. So, after 40 years of running to the right, we sacrificed our guide and started the fight. The fight is pretty easy until it turns around and is like,
shut the fuck up, I will fucking laser you.
Killing the wall gets us an extra accessory slot and puts us into hard mode, essentially taking all of our progress and chucking it into the bin. But before we could really do much in terms of progression, we had to break some demon altars, blessing our world with cobalt, orichalcum, and adamantium. The worst ores out of each rarity. First things first, I went to the ice biome to grab a frostbrand and an icicle.
I want to ride my icicle.
And spent 4 platinum, that's 400 gold by the way, to get 4 extra armor. That's fucking it. Then it was off to the caves for some cobalt, as that's the only hard mode ore you can mine without a hard mode pick. After that, it was back to the caves for orichalcum. crafted the pick, more metal. After the spree, I was left with about 226 pieces of ore, which sounds like a lot, but you need 4 ore per bar. So realistically, I only had 56 bars, which is enough for 1 armor set. And there are 3 of us who want it. So I'm gonna need to get even more, but someone said, instead of that, let's actually accidentally summon another boss. That's right, this dumb bitch did it again!
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Whoa, whoa.
Wrong thing.
Oh my Christ.
So it was time to fight the Boreal Strider, a teleporting ice spider who can turn people into some real ice! But since it needs to be summoned in a blizzard, these big motherfuckers can spawn. And we were all pretty low to begin with, and this attempt was cursed. Well, it was pretty clear we weren't up to snuff, so montage time. More armor.
Wow.
More metal. More damage.
Jefferson 76s?
And even more out-of-pocket jokes.
I'll kidnap your degree in child.
What? You got a degree for that?
Yeah.
Sheesh, where can I get one?
I also grabbed a new sheath, which allows me to crit bosses for 2000% damage. Finally, it was time to beat this bitch. We were ready, and I proceeded to die pretty much instantly. But after a hard-fought battle, we killed it. After the snowy kerfuffle, it was off to hell to murder the Beholder. This Cyclops actually had a surprisingly fun moveset to fight against. Basically being a bullet hell, something that really wasn't a thing until now. After getting it to about half HP, it got angry, giving it some new attacks, letting it throw around
Liquid hot magma.
and subsequently murdering me and a couple of others. And right as I was about to teleport and crit the boss, the server said, "Goodbye, back to the lobby." So we all had to wait for everyone to join, run back, and hit/get hit the boss so we can all get a bag. But we managed it. Our reward? Vanadium and Lodestone, the next ores. So yay, more spelunking. We also got to enslave his soul and force him to carry us around on a chariot. So, as I said, it was off to the caves for some more spelunking, where we found out a little secret that Glenn was keeping.
Everyone have full health?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so it's just me.
Wait, you haven't had full health?
You don't
Yeah.
have full health?
Oh my Christ.
After I realized that Lodestone and Vanadium is pretty much only useful for me, we tried to dethrone another monarch, Queen Slime. The much better counterpart to the King Slime, and goddamn does she put the boss and girl boss. In fact, we died to her so many times we made a graveyard. Next up are the mechanical bosses. First of which were the twins. Basically just 2 eyes of Cthulhu where one spits flames and the other has a laser. The first mistake we made was our strategy, where we separated the two with me soloing one and the rest trying to kill the other one. But once I inevitably died, they had to deal with both eyes, one of which is in second phase, without the tank. Our second mistake was that we started the fight at almost exactly midnight, which gives us only about 4 minutes to kill the boss before it despawns. And we were about to run out of time, with the boss still having about a quarter of its HP, so as you can imagine, we're gonna have to redo the bot. That's right, the boss glitched and committed Harakiri, giving us the dub. Killing the mechanical bosses gives us hallowed bars, and lets me make the Excalibur, another step towards an even greater sword. Destroyer was next, and as you can imagine, it got destroyed. This got us enough to make the armor set, and leads on to the hardest mech boss, Skeletron Prime, sponsored by KSI and Logan Paul. And I assure you, it lives up to its reputation, killing us a shit ton, but we got it eventually. Having all 3 kinds of souls allows us to make all sorts of shit. First off is the true Knight's Edge, a pickaxe axe, and a destroyer emblem, which turns into the mechanical glove, which can then turn into the fire glove. Now that I'm stacked, I think it's time to try and get to true max HP. So it's off to the underground jungle to find some life fruit, and grab some chlorophyte, a new medal that we got from killing the mechs. We were pretty stacked, so it should be pretty easy. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. But on the bright side, William...
Flunk his potion from a pot.
By the end of the expedition, I had 481 ore, which gave us 96 bars, which isn't a lot, as we can all make something out of it. So since I got it, I thought I should be able to make my stuff first. So after the statistical anomaly pulled 3 turtle shells out of his arms, I made the turtle shell armor and the true Excalibur. And after all that, we had 37 bars left for everyone else. But who cares, let's fight Plantera. Plantera is a pretty easy boss, especially with a tank. Like, all I have to do is go around in circles and she can't do anything. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of text. I got everything but the melee, so we're gonna fight her again. And I got nothing again. So 3rd time's a charm. And it was! Woo! One step closer. Remember that text after Plantera? Well, one of them means that our dungeon got crazy. And that means more loot. Which also means more farming. But for the stuff I needed, you need these big boys called paladins to spawn. But me being me, and the game hating me, not many spawned. But as it turns out, Titan, having never heard of the concept of grass, had already farmed 86 Holy Knights alloy, and had gotten an eclipse while no one was on. And this fucker was about to sit there and let me farm for that shit. Bastard! Well, we're here now, so might as well. Yoink, and yoink. Well, after a cheeky solo eclipse, I needed to farm for something else, and woo-wee! Is it bad? So what I want is a nice tortoise shell, because you can combine it with the paladin shield to make an even better one. But the issue is that the shell has a 1% drop rate from ice tortoise. So after about an hour of farming, I'd killed 100.
Are you?
Not to mention the amount the others killed. I got more milkshakes, which have a lower drop rate. This game fucking hates me! After that, I got too frustrated to continue, so we went off to kill the Lich, and you guys know how it is. Fight it, 1 or 2 people die, get nothing of use, and on to the next one. Next on the chopping block was the Golem, so I was off to the Jungle Temple. Now the first thing you gotta know about the temple is that everything is out to kill you, including the building itself, which is laden with traps. But apparently Glenn's too thug for that shit and just triggered every single trap he could. Finally we managed to get through the entire temple without dying and made it to the boss room, so after a little upkeep, it was time to kill him. And it was pitifully easy. With 2 full damage classes and a tank, it's already a decently easy boss. Combine that with a healer to keep the tank alive, and you can farm him, no worries. After killing him 9 times, it was back to base, and time to nab a new armor set. The Beetle Armor. It was off to the ocean to kill the next boss, the Forgotten One. And just like their name, I forgot why we needed to kill him. That was also hella hard to see because of the water, but that bitch still died like the rest. Then some stupid ass aliens tried to invade, but we killed those greyskins. That's right, I'm a massive racist. But on the flip side, we got to appropriate their culture, so yay, genocide! I also found out that there was a weapon I could have gotten immediately after Plantera. A sword. No. It's much too big and rough to be a sword. It's more like a heap of raw iron. The Wyvern Slayer. And I knew just who needed to be sliced in half. Another monarch of the land. Jesus, how many fucking queens does this place have? The Empress of Light. A bullet hell boss designed to truly test your skills. And boy, did I have the skills. After another deposition, we decided to go after another royal of a lower house, Duke Fishron, the fastest boy in the land. So to ensure we didn't get speed blitzed, we yoinked some asphalt, which speeds you up, and made another bridge, and contaminated the ocean. Once everything wasn't purple, it was time for a little fishing. Fishron, as a boss, is pretty simple. All speed and damage, no HP, having less than Golem. So as you can imagine, it was pretty easy. Until the screen went dark and he speed blitzed me. So we killed him a couple more times and was off to finish the game. To do so, you've got to interrupt a cult meeting, and understandably, their leader gets a little mad that you murdered all of his friends and tries to kill you in response. In response, we exercise our local stand your ground laws, and we give it a taste of good old-fashioned ass whooping. But we couldn't stop his ritual, and boom, more aliens. The Celestial Invasion is where the game just kind of explodes. So in the base game, you have 4 pillars. Solar for melee, Nebula for mages, Vortex for rangers, and Stardust for summoners, with the mod adding 2 new ones. Now for each pillar, you have to beat a certain amount of mobs to break a barrier that exposes a flesh pillar that can then be killed to weaken the barrier between real space and the infinite cosmos. Now you're probably thinking, just killing mobs? Must have been pretty easy. Well, it wasn't. First one was Stardust, as it was over our goblin, and as much as we hate him, we need him for rerolls. We split up after that to take care of the other ones, with me and Titan going after the solar pillar. From the fragments dropped by the pillar, I could make 3 new weapons, pretty much replacing my entire loadout. Now, we were all pretty much prepared for the coming boss, but before we summoned it, we thought to make another sky lane so we don't get fucked without an arena. Once that was done, it was time to kill the last pillar. As it dissolved into nothingness, a sense of doom enveloped all of us as we summoned the interdimensional horror known as the Moon Lord. Now, if you thought all that shit was too much, just wait till you hear about the Phantasmal Death Ray. The fucking laser beam that shoots out of its third eye and literally goes through the entire map, chunking any squishy and annihilating my HP as a tank. Moonlord is also different in the sense that he technically has 4 HP bars and new phases as you pluck out each of his eyes. First the hands, then his third eye, and then his heart, which, destroying it, finally allows you to kill him. Killing him drops Luminite, which we can then craft into our endgame armor. At least we should be able to, but we only got about 25 bars each, and it costs 36. So, we gotta do it all over again, yay! Finally, we got it. Full solar armor. But none of us got any of the drops, so like 8 more times and boom, we're ready for the final boss of the mod. The Primordials, the manifestation of the elements. And we got demolished. So we moved to another arena and tried again. It was also during this fight that we realized Glenn was fucking AFK at spawn, just out here like... So of course we lost again, along with half of our NPC roster.
And everyone's dead!
So instead of just smacking our head against the wall, we decided to prepare a little more, and I had just the thing in mind. The pinnacle of swords. So the Zenith Blade. Now, I had 6 out of 10 swords, and most of them were pretty easy to get. First was Meow Meow, So we gotta kill Moonlord again, and easy peasy, boom, first try. Next was the enchanted sword, because I knew that was gonna take ages. At first, I thought the fastest way to get one was by fishing, as it's found in gold and platinum crates. But then I realized, in almost every world, these things called sword shrines will spawn, and there's a pretty good chance it would have an enchanted sword inside, so time to create some small worlds. One after one, I created new worlds and searched them meticulously, until I found it, deep underground.
Yes!
2 left. The Horseman's Blade is dropped by the Pumpkin during a pumpkin moon, so you already know. The last sword was the Influx Waver, which Wagon, the god, got for me while I was off. So finally, it was complete. The Zenith, and sheesh, was it worth the wait. Finally, it was time to end this. Our arena was perfect, we were ready to finish the Primordials. At first, the boss is pretty damn simple, they just kinda run into you. But once they get to about half HP, they turn around and start blasting. Then once they get to a quarter HP, they get another attack. Each kill being paid for in blood. First the Slag Fury fell. For that, they took my life. We then slew the Endless Tide, and the Life Defiler closely followed. But just when it seemed the fight was over, the fabric of reality tore at the seams, revealing the true primordial force of this world. Lucid Energy. Instantly, Titan was disintegrated. Armed with the powers of all 3 of its avatars, this is like if Empress of Light took speed. But finally, we got it to a low enough HP and...
Fuck off your clitoris!
Come on!
Wait, yes! 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 Get shit on, you big bitch!
Just keep dodging because it might do, I don't know.
Oh wait, yeah, it's still alive.
Island, I didn't even get to see it.
Let's fucking go!
Fucking died.
And that was that. Overall, Thorium is a great mod for anyone who's just getting started with the modding scene. The mechanics and gameplay don't stray too far from the base game, and the base game items are not overshadowed by all the modded content. However, there are many things wrong with the mod. The music first and foremost. The music is so fucking quiet. And the difficulty of a lot of the modded bosses were pretty lackluster. If we were playing on normal difficulty, I'm pretty sure we could have first tried pretty much every boss. But that could just be because the healer class is broken, but hey, that's neither here nor there. Ultimately, Thorium gets a good 8 out of 10. Very fun, but with some pretty significant flaws that make the experience a little bit worse. Okay, bye. I was doing uni, that's why I wasn't alive for 6 months.